What's up, everyone? It's iCurly here, and today we're going to be discussing supply and demand. And before we even get started, I want to give you a very quick trick on how to remember the difference between the two. So, the word supply starts with the letter S, and so does the word sell. So, if you ever hear someone talk about a supply zone, they're talking about an area where we can potentially get a sell off from. And if supply and sell go hand in hand, then that would mean that demand should obviously be related to the word buy. So if you ever hear someone say a demand zone, this is typically an area where we are looking to buy. Okay. So now, what does supply and demand represent? Well, it represents an area where institutions either like to find a very good discount to buy, and then the supply area represents the area where they might typically try to sell it off and then rinse and repeat the cycle. So I like to look for a V shape on my chart. Now that can be a upside down V or an inverted V, if you will, or it can just be the letter V. And it is also important to look for fresh supply and demand zones. So let's just get into it on a chart. So the very first thing that I can see is this inverted V, right? I see that kind of happening here on my chart. Now, the key thing about this is that you want it to be an aggressive move to one direction or the other, and then an aggressive move to the opposite direction. So as you can see here, we have a harsh move to the upside. We kind of hit this point, and then we sold off. Now, this is going to be key, okay? In this particular zone, we have something that happened. We pushed up, we reached a point, and then we rejected down. So what I like to do is if we push down, I like to find that high point. And if the move is to the downside, I want to find the candle opposite of red because red would mean downside. So I want to find the candle that's opposite of the red candle. In this instance, I'm going to opt for this particular candle right here. Now, I would typically opt for the one that came immediately before the sell-off. However, because this kind of traded sideways, if you will, and it reached this high point before it pushed down, I'm going to opt for this particular candle right here. And this is going to represent my supply zone. Okay. Now, I also just kind of want to squeeze my chart in some here just to see if it was respected before. And look at that. It most certainly was. So we mapped it around this candle, but look, we came into this zone and rejected down. We even came into this zone over here and rejected down. We slightly pierced above it on these days and kind of pushed down too, but it was definitely historically respected, and that's what we want. And I'll tell you why in just a minute. Now, if we're going to look for our demand zones, we're going to do the same thing, but to the opposite direction. So we want to look for the V shape. At first, we look for the upside down V. Now we're just going to look for a V shape, and we want it to be more recent, okay? So what I see here, obviously there is a presence of a gap here, but we're still going to use that. I see this happening, right? So we came to this point and pushed down aggressively, hit this level, and then bounced up aggressively. So I'm going to look for the candle color opposite the direction that we moved. So we moved to the upside, which is going to be represented by green candles. So I want to select the red candle opposite the move up. And this is going to be my demand zone. Okay. And then again, just like before, we're going to squeeze our chart in and we're going to see if it was historically respected because that is very, very, very important. And as you can see here, we pulled into this area, bounced up to the supply, pulled back into this area, bounced right back up to the supply. So what does that say? Well, that tells me a story. It says that the institutions love to buy it in this $84 to $86 range. This is where they find their discount. And they like to run it all the way up here and then sell it off. And in between this lies the amount of profit that they stand to make. And they're just rinsing and repeating that cycle. We want to trade along with the smart money. We want to trade along with the institutions. They have the capital to move the market in one direction or the other. So we want to be right beside them making money. So this is why supply and demand is extremely, extremely important. The other thing about supply and demand is that it is a form of support and resistance. So, just like your support can turn into resistance and your resistance can turn into support, it's the same exact thing with supply and demand. So, for example, the moment that we actually break above this level, and let's say we're pushing up and pushing up, if we ever decided that we're going to pull back down, this is now going to be flipped green. So, this would actually be this color down here. And this would actually form or hold as a form of demand. So we could come to this area, test it, and then possibly push back to the upside. Okay. Also, your demand zone can flip into a supply zone. So if we lost this level and started to pull down, when we start to push back up, this could actually serve as a form of supply. So it can definitely flip. So I hope this helps you to understand how to actually locate supply and demand because, again, it is a great thing to add to your trading. So if you like this video, please remember to like, comment, subscribe. Please share it as well and follow me on social media under iCurlyK. Have an amazing trading journey. Bye.